Imagine for a moment being part of a community with no access to clean water, or being more than a day's travel from the nearest healthcare facility and one of your loved ones is sick, injured, or about to give birth. In some places of the world, the safety nets that you or I might take for granted because of where we live simply do not exist. That's where Concern America comes in. This is not a well-meaning but unsustainable drop-and-run proposition, not a handout. No, Concern America is a genuine, critical hand-up, an infusion of needed tools and education for dignified self-sufficiency. Concern America empowers local communities in isolated and underserved regions to provide their own medical services, clean water, education, and economic opportunities. What sets Concern America apart from other international nonprofits is that its goal is not just aid, but self-reliance. Thanks to Concern America's efforts, hundreds of thousands of people in isolated communities around the world now receive primary healthcare services and other necessities in their own villages, provided by their fellow community members. I encourage you to visit concernamerica.org to learn more about how you can support this groundbreaking model for rising out of poverty and into a sustainable future.
Good morning, and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of San Miguel de Allende. I'm the Reverend Tom Rossiello, minister of this congregation, and it is wonderful to be back with you in San Miguel. And whether you are with us in person here at the Aldea or joining us via Zoom, we are so glad that you are with us. It's great to see a lot of members and friends and new folks. If you happen to be visiting with us, we really want to welcome you. If you're here at the Aldea and willing to be recognized, please stand now just so we can see who you are, so folks can reach out and greet you after the service. If you're with us on Zoom, we would love it if you would type your name, where you're from, and maybe how you learned about us into the chat now. I'd like to extend a couple of very special welcomes. First, to our guest speaker, John Strauss. He has worked with Concern America since 1997 and in 2012 became its executive director. John grew up in Flint, Michigan, and earned a master's in education from the University of Illinois at Chicago, focusing on social justice and bilingual education. He and his wife spent 5 years in Honduras and Guatemala working on community-based health and development projects. John and his wife, Kat, who is also Concern's field program director, are parents of 2 adult children. And John is no stranger to Unitarian Universalism. A lifelong UU, John grew up in the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Flint, Michigan, and was a member of Third Unitarian Church in Chicago. And I understand that there are many members of the Concern America team here as well. So I'd like to invite John and Kat and any members of that team to stand up so we can welcome you. And it's always a pleasure to welcome leaders of the NGOs that we support through our foundation to our service. And today I'm pleased to welcome Dylan Terrell, founder and executive director of Caminos de Agua, who's here with us. And Dylan, just in case folks don't know you, would you also stand so they can welcome you in person as well? Before we enter our time of worship, we always have a few announcements. So I'd like to call your attention to first to the insert in your order of service. Our Social Justice Foundation is presenting the service on October 5th. It's entitled Living Our UU Values of Social Justice, and they're requesting your input for the Foundation's future focus. Thank you for sharing your thoughts about social justice by turning in this survey to the Foundation folks at the info table after today's service. For those of you who are on Zoom, look for the email this past week with the social justice survey to do the same. And finally, the survey will also be included in this coming week's UUFSMA newsletter. And thank you for sharing your thoughts. Also, a reminder, there are opportunities every week to come together in community, both in person and on Zoom. On Tuesday morning, you're most welcome to join me on Zoom for coffee hour chat. And in person on Thursday afternoon, there's wonderful lunch and games at La Frontera restaurant. After today's service, those on Zoom are invited to stay connected and visit with others for a discussion of today's topic. Those who are with us at the Allende can join us for coffee and cookies. And take your coffee and check out not just our welcome table that has lots of information about us, including the Social Justice Foundation, but also check out the special display about Concerned America, where John and the members of that organization will be there to speak with you. Well, these announcements just scratch the surface of all that's going on, so be sure to check out the order of service and the newsletter for other announcements. Finally, we want you to know that our service is recorded. You can find links to our services on our website, UUFSMA.org. And while on the website, please check out the information about the fellowship, including information on how to become a member. And we hope if you're not one, you will really consider that. And now let us come into our time of worship. In this hour, we're called to listen, to learn, to share. It is a sacred time because we make it so. First, by renewing our bonds to each other, but that alone is not enough. To truly make this time sacred, we must also focus on and reach out beyond these walls, beyond this comfortable community. So many are outside of our thoughts and our sights. They are in places to which we do not go, right here in Mexico and in other nations, in nations where famine and war are everyday events. They're also in inner cities, they're in prisons. They are people who are oppressed and even now live in fear simply because of who they are, people unwelcomed because of their nationality, the language they speak, their gender identification, their sexual orientation, even their abilities, even their faith. Let us bring them into our hearts and mind's eye now, and let us enter this time remembering that we, as Unitarian Universalists, affirm the inherent worth and dignity of every one of them. You know, in so many ways, these are difficult times, even overwhelming times. Some of us gather here this morning angry with what's happening in our world. Some of us overwhelmed. Some of us discouraged and we're ready to give up. But we must not. We have always been a religion of hope, a religion that understands the power of hope, even and especially in the most difficult times. Each week, as Susan has just done, we light a single flame. Look into that flame. It reminds us again and again that one little flame can pierce the darkness, just as the efforts of a single person, no matter how small, can make a difference. This is no time to despair, but to grasp even more firmly to hope and to a faith that centers love, teaches values, and unites us in common purpose to meet the challenges of our time. So now, come and sing together. Lauren is going to lead us in a song of hope, a hope we give to each other when hope is hard to find. Please rise in body or spirit and join in hymn number 346 and remain standing for the covenant. Come sing a song with me. The words will also appear on the screen. I need my helpers Sebastian and Jerome up here. Here we go. Jerome, will you do the English? Come on up. Jerome and Sebastian will lead us in the covenant, which will now appear on the screen. Okay.
We respect the interdependent web of life and work for a just and peaceful world. We encourage the search for truth and meaning, strive for compassion in our relationships, and seek values that will benefit our lives and the lives of others. This is our covenant.
Respetamos todos los estilos de vida dentro de su red interdependiente y trabajamos por un mundo justo y pacífico. Alentamos la búsqueda de la verdad y la comprensión total. Nos esforzamos por mantener compasión en nuestras relaciones y buscamos valores que beneficien nuestras vidas y las vidas de los demás. Este es nuestro convenio.
Please be seated. An important part of our service each week is the sharing of significant joy, sorrow, and concerns of our members and friends. And for each joy, sorrow, or concern, we light a candle indicating that that person or that thought or that prayer is held in all of our hearts this morning. If you wish to have a joy, sorrow, or concern shared in an upcoming service, you can email it to me, Or if you're going to be here in person, you can also write it on a card one of the ushers will provide you as you enter. If you're on Zoom and you wish to share today, you can type it into the chat now. I don't think we received any cards, did we? No? Okay. Well, our first joy is from Ellie Goodwin, who writes, I've been very active at the UUF for 17 years, attending live Sunday services regularly, meeting interesting visitors who become new members. Since June of this year, I've been homebound with an injury that has kept me from attending services this summer. But I have been enjoying our services via Zoom. My joy is that I'm so very grateful that our pledges, the Sunday Service Committee, and our highly talented and dedicated technical team make it possible for me and about 30 others to attend the service from home each Sunday by Zoom. It's a true blessing. We light that candle not just for Ellie's joy, but for our hope that she'll be able to be back with us in person very soon. I have another joy. Bill Dulcimer came home to his place in the Hamptons after a week in the hospital and 5 weeks in rehab just the day before yesterday. I spoke with him. He's doing well, and this candle is one of love and support for him and for his partner, Janet. Okay. Diego, do we have any? Okay. Our concerns are not only with our own community, but they reach out to the world. Kirsten asks us to light a candle of great concern on this International Day of Peace. Her concern is for all living beings because many are defining peace very wrongly and behaving the completely opposite way, that inner peace and a lack of understanding of the interconnected web of life guide us. We light a candle for the immigrants and the many others who are suffering in the U.S. because of cruel policies and lack of due process. We light another candle of concern for the increasing political violence and pray that people will express their political views and protests in non-violent ways. We once again light our blue and yellow candle for all those suffering as a result of the unprovoked and unjust war in Ukraine. And we light our other large candle of great concern for all those suffering and dying as a result of the war in the Middle East. We pray for an immediate ceasefire and the release of all hostages, and that critical food and medical aid will be allowed to reach those who are in such serious need. And we light a final candle for all those joys, sorrows, and concerns that are held deeply in our hearts this morning, but remain unspoken. I now invite you to join me in a time of prayer or reflection. Spirit of community, in which we share and find strength and common purpose. We turn our minds and hearts to one another, seeking to bring into our circle all who need our love and support, those who are ill in body, mind, or spirit, those who are lonely, those who have been wronged. We acknowledge that we are part of the web of life that makes us one with all humanity, one with all the universe. May this time of shared joys, sorrows, and concerns lead us to a better understanding of our own community and the precious gifts that we possess that enable us to minister to each other. I now invite those who wish to come forward and light a candle in silence, giving witness to whatever thought, prayer, or concern you're holding in your hearts this morning. John, would you join me up front? I'm going to invite all of you to join us in sharing a reading by Marge Percy. We're going to do it antiphonally, which means alternating sides. So if you're on this side, you're going to read the green as it appears on the screen, and Diego, you can put that up. You're going to read the green with John, and if you're on this side, you're going to read the blue with me. Okay? The people I love the best jump into work head first.
Without dallying in the shallows, and swim off with sure strokes, almost out of sight.
They seem to become natives of that element.
The black, sleek heads of seals, bouncing like half-submerged balls.
I love people who harness themselves, an ox to a heavy cart.
Who pull like water buffalo with massive patience.
Who strain in the mud and the muck to move things forward.
Who do what has to be done again and again.
I want to be with people who submerge in the task.
Who go into the fields to harvest and work in a row and pass the bags along.
Who are not parlor generals and field deserters.
But move in a common rhythm when the food must come in or the fire must be out.
The work of the world is common as mud. Botched, it smears the hands, crumbles to dust.
But the thing worth doing well done has a shape that satisfies, clean and evident.
Greek amorphas for wine or oil, Hopi vases that held corn are put in museums, but you know they were made to be used.
The pitcher cries for water to carry, and a person for work that is real.
Just take my stuff out of the way.
Good morning, everyone. What a gift and honor it is to be here with you. As a lifelong UU, as was mentioned, growing up in the UU Church of Flint, Michigan, and later as a member of Third Unitarian in Chicago, together with my wife, Kat, who's here, and our two children, the UU faith has always felt like home. Where else can a 10-year-old kid actively questioning his faith be surrounded by love and guidance? Or an 18-year-old pacifist struggle with whether or not to register for the draft and what it would mean if he didn't? And a parent to ensure that their children receive sex education with the OWL curriculum created by the church itself. Well, all in the UU Church. When Kat and I came to our first service here in the spring, I was amazed at how many people were present. The whole hall was filled. Actually, never in my life have I been with so many UUs in one place, except perhaps the General Assembly I attended as a youth. How beautiful it is to be part of such a vibrant UU community. Kat and I were here in San Miguel in the spring to visit with community health workers in the program that we're part of with the nonprofit Concern America. I'm the executive director, and Kat, our field program director. I'm excited and thankful to talk more about Concern today and our health work. I'm also going to share some reflections I've been having these days, considering the state of our world, and in ways not to become paralyzed by the seemingly endless list of suffering and challenges. Things like wars in Gaza, the Sudan, and Ukraine, none with a peaceful end in sight. The scary march to authoritarianism in the US and the immediate impact this is having on our immigrant and trans communities, just to name a couple. The continued violence here in Mexico in Chiapas, where Concern has an education program, threatens entire communities and drastically limits freedom of movement and expression. It's hard for me to have hope at this time. Yet I'm also filled with hope. La esperanza muere última. Hope dies last. This phrase was used during the farm worker organizing in California with Dolores Huerta and Cesar Chavez and others as a way to never give up, to keep going, and to know that eventually things will get better. But what is this hope? Is it just wishful thinking? Part of hope is to assume the best in others, and more often than not, actually, you will be right to do so. This isn't simply a utopian, rose-colored glass statement of an optimist, but rather is actually backed up by the history of humanity time and time again. The Dutch historian Rutger Bregman explores this history of humans and whether we as a species tend to favor our good side or our not so good side in his book, Humankind, A Hopeful History. What did Rutger find out over and over? That we are overwhelmingly kind and generous to each other, especially in light of horrible atrocities. In Rutger's book, he explored the fictional book that many of us had to read at school, The Lord of the Flies, in which a group of boys are stranded on an island and, because of our human nature, of course, they ended up fighting each other and killing one of the group. Rutger got the idea to search if in history there was ever a similar situation of children being stranded together for a long period, and what actually happened. And after much research, he stumbled upon just such a story. In June of 1965, 6 boys, ages 13 to 16, eager to flee their strict boarding school on the island of Tonga, stole a boat in hopes of escaping to Fiji. Instead, they spent 8 days adrift at sea, only to land on a remote, uninhabited, and unhospitable rocky island. When they were rescued 15 months later, by chance, they were found to be all alive and healthy. They had set up a food garden, hollowed out tree trunks to store water, a gymnasium with weights, a badminton court, a handmade guitar made of driftwood, and a permanent fire they kept going for over a year. They organized themselves into 2 teams, in teams of 2 for garden, kitchen, and guard duty. And whenever they got into an argument, they walked to opposite sides of the island for 4 hours, and they would return and apologize to each other. But if we are more often good than bad, why do we write and believe stories like The Lord of the Flies? Actually, many studies show that we tend to remember negative experiences over positive ones. And similarly, that we are more often see the negative around us than the positive. It is believed that this tendency actually has evolutionary roots. It was more important to our survival to look for the dangerous animal lurking in the bushes than to stop and smell the roses. But is our world more worse off now than in previous generations? A few years ago, cognitive scientist Steven Pinker compared recent studies and found that majorities in 14 countries, including Australia, Denmark, Germany, Hong Kong, Thailand, and the United States, believe that the world is getting worse rather than better. Interestingly, at that time, China was the only large country in which a majority of people expressed optimism. Yet, as Pinker writes, this bleak assessment of the state of the world is wrong, 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 flat earth wrong. Most historical and statistical evidence shows that life used to be shorter, sicker, poorer, more dangerous, and less free. For example, improved healthcare on every continent has dramatically reduced infant and maternal mortality, and children are now better fed, better educated, and less abused than they were in the past. In the majority of countries, workers make more money and are injured less frequently. Across the globe, especially in Asia, billions fewer live in extreme poverty, defined as income of less than $2 a day. But what does that mean for those of us wanting to be engaged in building a better world for all? If we focus predominantly on the negatives and the challenges in our lives, this pessimism is scientifically shown to cause avoidance behaviors and passivity. This can be confounded by the fact that we are also wired to seek order. When there is uncertainty, our tendency is to shrink back and retreat. We tend to shut down. If we can let go of some certainty, especially hard for type A folks, it gives us space to act, to try new things, and to take chances. Therefore, too often it is hard for us to see a way forward. But we must also always take that next step, bolstered by the knowledge that history shows that our lives, more often than not, get better, and that the people around us are overwhelmingly good and want a better world too. There is a quote that's often used in these situations that speaks to this whole hopeful trend from the Unitarian minister Theodore Parker. Though the most recognized version of this quote was adapted by Martin Luther King Jr. Though Parker's belief in justice is based on his conscience and personal experience, the history of the world proves him right. He states, "I do not pretend to understand the moral universe. The arc is a long one. My eye reaches but a little ways. I cannot calculate the curve and complete the figure by the experience of sight. I can divine it by conscience. And from what I see, I am sure it bends towards justice." I have been privileged to see this concrete bending towards justice through my engagement with Concern America. As was mentioned, I've worked with Concern for 28 years, starting in 1997 as a field volunteer in Guatemala with Kat. Concern began in 1972 in response to civil wars in Africa and famine and upheaval in Asia. In the 1980s, Concern responded to invitations to support refugee communities in Central America, working with Salvadoran refugees in Honduras and Guatemalan refugees in southern Mexico, and addressing the long-term needs of displaced and materially impoverished communities in other countries. We carry out health, water, education, and income-generating programs with long-term field volunteers. These are professionals in their fields like nurses and doctors, engineers and teachers, who give at least 2 years of their time to live and work in the communities where we operate. Most of our field volunteers stay for many more years. Their focus is to teach community members to provide the services they themselves identify as most important, whether it be to build water systems or start artisan cooperative businesses. Our core program is building local capacity to provide healthcare in regions where no other affordable or quality care exists. Concern developed its community-centered and led health model based on the community health workers, which we call health promoter practitioners, over the many years working in refugee camps and in civil conflicts. The model trains individuals nominated by their communities to become the primary healthcare providers where they live. Our 3-year comprehensive curriculum, where students train for a week every other month, covers topics such as the digestive and respiratory systems, nutrition, chronic illness, and women's health, enabling the practitioners to cover up to 80% of the health needs of their communities. To fully train a new health promoter practitioner over the 3 years, which includes their first set of medicines and medical equipment, costs Concern little more than $1,000. The health consults provided by the practitioners, which also include medicines, lab tests, and procedures like suturing, removing abscesses, diabetic care, and so much more, cost on average only $5 per patient. Furthermore, there is no need for patients to travel long distances in a region with limited public transportation to health centers that require one to arrive early, stand in line for hours, cost a lot of money, with no guarantee of actually being seen that day, a reality of the communities actually outside of San Miguel. This is even more important when roads become impassable, for example, as they did earlier this year in many communities after heavy rainfall. In addition to the preventative work of the health promoter practitioners, their skills and knowledge enable them to also know when a patient does need to get secondary care at a hospital, and often accompany their patients to such appointments as an advocate. Over time, the practitioners become the program leaders, reducing the need for concerned field volunteers and building a local health program that they run themselves. In 2022, Kat traveled to San Miguel with our concerned board member who lives here, Stacy Kleinsmith, who's with us, to meet with an organization many of you know well Caminos de Agua. Concern has long collaborated with Caminos on our health program in Chiapas, using Caminos household water filters. During the meeting with the executive director, Dylan, knowing our work in healthcare, he spoke of the many health needs in the region, and the spark for our work was begun. A series of meetings with grassroots organizations already deeply organized and working in the region on water, agriculture, and related programs was held, led by who would become our first team member, Pilar, a nutritionist and educator based here in San Miguel, who also happens to be Dylan's wife. Next, an important part of the process to consider this new project was for the local organization leaders in Mexico to visit Concern America's health program in northern Guatemala, which has over 30 years of existence and is now run primarily by a local team of 15 advanced health promoter practitioner and midwives. During their time in Guatemala, Pilar and the group met with these local leaders, sat in on health consults provided by the practitioners in the program's teaching clinic, and spent time imagining if such a program would be possible in their home communities. The team from Mexico was incredibly moved by what they witnessed and learned, never imagining that community members like themselves could expand the healthcare work they were already doing to provide such comprehensive, affordable, and human healthcare. One leader was moved to tears from the experience. Never in my life have I witnessed such compassionate care, from listening to the patient, providing a full physical exam, testing on site, and giving the test results the same day. I know these are things that everyone should expect, but that has never been my experience. They treated every person like a human being. I want this for my communities. When the group returned to Mexico, they met with their association of organizations and with community leaders in the region, and the response was unanimous to move forward. We met with communities throughout the region to introduce the program and recruit health promoter practitioner students. The response was overwhelming, and nearly 40 individuals were nominated to be their community's health care provider, all women and one man, from 23 communities in the municipalities of San Luis de la Paz, Dolores Hidalgo, and San Diego de la Unión. They began their studies in early 2024, and at this moment, 35 practitioners continue their training, with community visits between the courses by our 2 program team members and Concern America field volunteers, Pilar, and also Perla, who's a medical doctor, also here from Mexico. The courses take place in the community center located at the parish of San Cayetano, an organizing hub for the region led by the Catholic priest, Padre Juan Carlos Cesate. The practitioners study in the day and build the community together in the evenings as they share meals and stay the night on site. Out of necessity, many bring their young children, and we have 2 teachers who work with the kids during the course time so that they themselves can continue their schooling. After one of the first courses, Pilar shared the following reflection. With each topic, we learn more about our bodies. We still remember the amazement we all felt hearing a heartbeat for the first time, together, or looking through a microscope. One of the promoters said it perfectly. We all learn together. No one is left behind. If one person doesn't understand, the rest help. That's how we move forward. Our group is curious, passionate, and deeply committed. They put everything they learn into practice. With each step, they feel more capable and confident in their new skills, and they're always looking for ways to improve. They want a better future for their families and their communities, and they're working incredibly hard to make that happen. The American writer and historian Studs Terkel wrote a book titled Hope Dies Last, which is a collection of stories about people from many walks of life who embodied the belief that hope is an action. Studs writes, "Hope has never trickled down. It has always sprung up." That's what retired farm worker and labor organizer Jessie de la Cruz meant when she said, "I feel there's gonna be a change, but we're the ones gonna do it, not the government." Health promoter practitioners, and these are these springs of hope, rising up to meet their community's health needs in places that are hours away from any health clinics and hospitals. Donde no hay doctor, hay promotor. Where there is no doctor, there is a promoter, as they say. I am inspired every day by the dedication and compassion for the work that these community members do. In Concerns Health Program in Guatemala, a new group of practitioners recently finished their 3 years of training. One of the graduates, Jorge, lives in a community that had never had a practitioner before. A neighbor of his came to him with pain in his stomach. The neighbor didn't think much about it, but because there was now a health promoter practitioner in his community, he went to visit Jorge. After a thorough exam, Jorge referred the man to the hospital, suspecting appendicitis. Their community is many hours away from the nearest hospital, so the decision to spend the money and time needed to get to the hospital is not taken lightly. Jorge convinced his neighbor to go, and he went with him. It was indeed appendicitis, and without Jorge, the man would have died. Donde no hay doctor, hay promotor. And there are thousands of stories like this one, each one a source of hope for that community and our world. During times in my own life when things around me felt overwhelming, I had to work extra hard to find ways forward and not retreat. At those moments, what works for me and what I wish for all of us here is to engage with our community of friends, family, and organizations working at the center of creating a better world. It typically isn't grand gestures or actions, but rather small steps each day that guide my return to hope. The 35 health promoter practitioners from more than 20 communities surrounding San Miguel who volunteer their time to train to be their community's healthcare providers are taking steps forward in bringing hope to me, their communities, and our world. Thank you. And if you'll join me in our closing hymn, number 108, My Life Flows On in Endless Song, also known as How Can I Keep From Singing? Music, as you know, is often part of many movements. In the civil rights movement in the US in the 60s and 70s, music was core to providing that hope and spirit to move forward. I invite you to rise in body or in spirit. Thank you.
Please be seated. Every week in our service, we take up an offering. In doing so, we remind ourselves that the offering is symbolic as well as practical. Doing so is a spiritual exercise and a physical expression of something we believe in. That is, we all must do our part to keep this community thriving. In the practical sense, what we give to this fellowship goes to fund our ministry, our guest ministers program, our religious education for kids and adults, to pay our staff and our rent on this beautiful space, as well as to make our services and many other activities available on Zoom and on YouTube for all those who are part of this community, but not physically with us in this room. These funds keep our community strong, vital, and it is only by having a strong fellowship that we are able to have a social justice foundation through which we all together, and with the help of UUs and others from all over the US and Canada and beyond, can do such wonderful social justice work in the community. You know, we could collect funds in a variety of ways, in fact, we do. But we pass the basket during our worship service and make our donate button available for those on Zoom to draw the circle of giving wider, so all who are with us and who are ministered to, inspired by, and affirmed by this community can engage in the communal spiritual practice of generosity. Our offering says that the act of giving is as essential to our spiritual well-being as anything else we do here on Sunday morning. Please be generous. The morning offering will now be gratefully received. Thank you all, those of you on Zoom and those of you here in the room, for being with us today. And a very special thank you to John for your very informative and inspiring presentation. We certainly see where you and Concern America have put hope into action. Please remember to join John, Kat, and the many folks from this wonderful organization. After you pick up some coffee, they're here to answer your questions. They'll be over there. Don't stop them before they get over there. Let them get over there so everybody you can't corner them before they get there, okay? Remember also that today is the International World Day of Peace. And there is a ceremony at noon in Juarez Park with representatives of many faith traditions. Paola Torendot will be representing our fellowship at that. If you can make that, it would be great. Don't forget to fill out that survey that we mentioned that's in your order of service for our Social Justice Foundation. They are a very important part of this fellowship, as you know, and we all have a stake in their work. I hope you'll join us again next week when I'll explore themes from the Jewish high holy days, especially Yom Kippur. The sermon will focus on the struggle between justice and forgiveness. Our kids will be with us for the first part of the service when we'll share the wonderful story of Jonah and the Ninevites, and we hope you will be there to be part of that as well. Our benediction comes from the very same Unitarian Universalist minister that John quoted at length in his presentation, the 19th century Unitarian minister Theodore Parker, who wrote, "Be ours a religion which like sunshine goes everywhere. Its temple, all space. Its shrine, the good heart. Its creed, all truth. Its ritual, works of love. Its profession of faith, divine living." We now extinguish the flame we kindled at the opening of our service, but not the light of hope, of love, of justice. These we take with us in our hearts, and may peace be with you till we meet again.